You've got those 80 doors now with true fixed rate debt. You've destroyed your income tax liability. I think it's everybody should do it.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Well, we are still continuing the conversation with our guest, Steve Olson. This will be the final show in this segment with him. But he is going to dive in on, why, no matter if you are passive or active, no matter what kind of real estate investor you are, you need to own fourplex apartment units and 10 of them. That's like, he is so adamant about this. I love his passion behind this as well. But he just believes everyone has to do it. And not just you, but potentially your spouse as well. And he's going to tell you exactly why this is so beneficial. He loves being an LP and passive in so many projects as well, but why you need to consider this option and how it could save you a ton of money, along with a number of other questions I'm going to ask him at the end. And he had some answers that I enjoyed. I know you're going to learn a lot from. Steve, welcome back to the show. Honored to have you for a third segment and us diving in on something else that I feel like is so interesting because you say that every investor needs to do this, and I want to dive in on that because I want investors to hear this. But welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thank you. Most of my time is spent helping operate the Fourplex investment group, FIG for sure. The investor side of it, I communicate with the investors. We bring new projects that the development team has vetted to the market, right? And we've got a lot of people on your show, I would imagine, that are general partners or limited partners, and I do that stuff too. I think it's great. I love being an LP, getting mailbox money. There's no doubt about it. I think also another critical component of people's business is you should buy 10 fourplexes. And it's a very, very specific piece of advice. But those that have heeded it, it's kind of the holy grail for investors, because the type of debt you use to buy a fourplex is conventional debt, right? Might call it Fannie Mae debt is a loose way to refer to it. The same kind of debt you use to buy your home. And on a fourplex, you can put 25% down, and now you have one loan. Fannie Mae will let you have up to 10 loans in your personal name. You can't have 11 or 12. Even if you're Warren Buffett, you don't get 11 loans, only 10. And they're the best kind of asset because it's a true 30-year fixed rate mortgage. No one is checking your DSCR. You're not getting audited. If you make your payments, then you're good. You're golden. And you've got 4 tenants to help you make that payment. So you do that math, you spread that out, you get to 10 fourplexes, you've got 40 doors in your personal name. I think that that's absolutely fantastic in a market like right now where rates are insane, things are insane. It would be nice to spread your assets out over 40 different tenants and have that fixed rate debt. And you can crank it up a couple of notches from there, Whitney. You can say, well, now we're going to do it for my spouse if you're married, right? Can your spouse qualify, right? Let's go make sure they get paid. I did this recently where now I pay my spouse out of our company. It costs me some in taxes, but I need to be able to show the paper trail that she makes money and can qualify for loans, because that's how Fannie Mae works. They're robotic like that. So now we can get to 10 loans for her. Now, as a couple, we've got 80 doors with true 30-year fixed rate debt. And even more fantastic than that. And this, of course, depends on your situation and your relationship. But so one scenario that I see that I think is great, and not everybody can do this, but if you have this available to you, I think you absolutely should do it. Talk to your CPA. You don't have to believe me on this, but you've got a spouse that's maybe a high income earning W-2 spouse, an attorney, physician, software, something like that. And the other spouse is maybe working part-time. So you have a situation here where the spouse that's not working full-time could potentially become a real estate professional on your taxes, right? They're going to be able to meet the minimum requirements because spouse A now has 6, 7, 8, or 10 fourplexes, right? Whatever your CPA guides you on there. They're a real estate professional, the other spouse is. They've now got income coming in from the properties. So now they can go qualify for 10 more. And so now we unlock this potential of, let's go build new fourplexes. We can trade out of these that we bought. And let's do a cost segregation study and get bonus depreciation. So now you've got one spouse, real estate professional, converting losses from passive to active against the salary of the high W 2 income earner. And what do we do to the tax bill for that couple? We just completely obliterate it. It's fantastic. So you've got those 80 doors now with true fixed rate debt. You've destroyed your income tax liability. I think it's everybody should do it. You got to follow some specific steps, but I've helped a lot of people do that over the years, and Fourplex's efficiency for that kind of a thing, especially new build, is unmatched.
Wow. So you're saying a new build versus, say, buying existing fourplexes?
Yeah, and I think that they've gone down to 80% year one bonus depreciation, I think, but typically on new builds, you get some extra cost segregation benefits that you wouldn't on an existing build. And beyond that, you can get on most new builds, they qualify for a 45L study, which is energy efficiency. So typically $2,000 a door, I believe, in tax credits that you get on 45L. And my guy, he's out of LA that does those, told me the other day that they've actually increased that. Maybe you heard it here first, but I don't know the facts. But I think they've bumped that 45L tax credit up even further. And so you're usually going to need to be a newer build to get that, new AC units and things like that. So there's just play by the rule book here, because they've got some great exemptions in there for you to save on your taxes.
Incredible. I agree that it's something everybody should look into, right? I mean, it sounds like a major benefit, but you're even saying, hey, even if you're, say, an LP in numerous deals and you just want to be mostly passive, but this is still something you should look to pursue.
Yeah, you can do both of them, right? I'm in LP deals too. They're great. Like I said, I love that mailbox money. When you buy a new build fourplex, it's not exactly LP money. There's some involvement, and you can have bad luck sometimes. I had bad luck on a unit last month, big turnover costs, but you have a property management for the company for those things. But just as much underneath that asset, the other asset is the debt, the low fixed rate debt. And if that's what I was saying on one of our earlier segments, if the deal works today and you're buying it with fixed rate debt, you're probably going to be even happier about it 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the advantage. And rates go down, you just refi. I'm not saying they will, but you have that ability. So if rates go up, you're going to be glad you got that fourplex.
How many couples or investors have you seen take advantage, say, of all 10 loans, or maybe even their spouse as well, or other family members? How creative have you seen people get with that?
Oh, I've lost count on how many have done it, because I know we're always on the line with our mortgage guys of so and so needs to close, but they're waiting to sell this one over here to free up one of their 10 slots with Fannie Mae. So people are just trying to get that efficiency. Like, you might have a couple single family homes in your slot of 10 loans in there, and that's okay. Gradually exchange into duplexes, into triplexes, into fourplexes. Get more doors for that fixed rate debt. So people do all kinds of things, and a good investor friendly mortgage rep is going to know about that. And if you don't have one, you can contact us. We'll refer you to ours. But I think it's tremendous, because you hear these stories in the news about the rates adjusting, and expenses crushing people out of deals, because now the bank's calling for cash reserves. You're below the 1.25 debt coverage. That's off the table here.
Yeah. Now it's incredible, the type of debt, right? I mean, compared to what else we can get today, no doubt about it. That is an interesting thought. I can see a number of people wanting to say, "Oh, I don't want to be a landlord personally," right? But yeah, like you said, you can find a local management company that will take care of them for you, right? And do you see most people will hold long term, or they'll just and refi maybe the ones that they have, or they do sell? If they have fourplexes, they're going to often do 1031s, or what's been the long term plan there for most of those people?
I think it's just continually, and this is for any portfolio, just continually recalibrating as it makes sense. Sometimes you might look at an asset and it becomes a question of math, right? I owe $700,000 on this fourplex. My rate is X. It's worth 1.1 million. If I liquidate, how can I deploy those dollars? And what does that equate to? Is it a more efficient use? And I have seen people, and that's been a little easier, Whitney. I will say, over the last 6, 7 years, did you buy real estate? Great. Wait a year, you made money. We're not necessarily in that market anymore right now. You've got to be a lot more picky about trading, but people have been able to use market appreciation to trade and to replicate, to play with house money, if you will. I've seen a lot of that happening. So it'll be interesting over the next few years when arguably we don't have the wind at our back as much. I think the math is going to be a lot more involved. You're saving, you're socking away that cash flow, and can you get that efficiency? So people are always doing it. I think it's not as simple as, oh, I'm going to buy 10 fourplexes. You got to work at that, right?
Sure.
Gradually accumulate it.
All right, Steve. Now, I love the push there, right? And the insight that you have about it, that most of us wouldn't dive into the thought enough to realize, hey, that it may be a really good avenue for us, or me and my spouse. And so I think just bringing that to light for the listeners and myself, it's made me even think through that a little bit, for myself, because it's something I've steered away from, right? As we bought a lot of multifamily, hundreds of units at a time, like, well, there's no way I want to go back and buy a small multifamily, something that I've got to manage, but maybe it's something that I should consider. We're going to shift gears just a little bit to a few final questions, Steve. What's your best source for meeting new investors at this time?
I've gone to a lot of in-person events, and those are fun, not necessarily as efficient as being online in forums, Twitter, or I think it's called X now. You can meet a lot of people online, and it's right at your fingertips all the time. So I think that's been the most useful for me. And podcasts too. I hear people on podcasts that so I reach out to. You'd be surprised how responsive they are, because you get to hear them for a while and go, yeah, that's the kind of people I want to be around more. So, but online is extremely underrated. People are online having conversations in Facebook groups right now as we're recording this. So you can spend 5 grand for a ticket and fly somewhere. It doesn't mean you shouldn't. There are merits to that. But I mean, think what you could do in 30 minutes of networking a day online and the people you could meet.
I think it's very wise, and I think I have and am having to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that it is a much more efficient use of time and money, because you can network and meet so many people online. I love the in-person events too. I love speaking at events, all those things, but man, it's costly, right?
Yeah.
And spending the same amount of time or capital devoted, say, on, even 4 days a week, right? Or you can do it more. Great. I think you're going to meet more people and more investors. I think it's very wise. Is there a way you manage that well?
Well, you just have to make a conscious effort on it. I've got 4 or 5 Facebook groups that I'm in. I get to go in there and ask questions and see opinions and see what other people are talking about. I'm in a couple of groups on Twitter that do the same, and it actually, we might have the reaction that this is going to make you not go to in-person events. It's going to make you want to go to more of them. Warning, okay? Because you're going to meet some cool people. It is going to help you filter out which ones you should go to and which ones you shouldn't go to. So if anyone's trying to expand their network, start with 15 minutes a day. Start making some tweets. Get on some Facebook groups. Make comments. Offer free advice. There's a knee-jerk reaction to, I shouldn't offer free advice. Well, tell that to YouTube and Google. It's free. So get out there, show your value, and you cast that net, and the right people start to come into your life.
Steve, what's your best advice for passive investors right now?
This is a time for patience and perspective. When we were talking in one of the earlier segments, people need a place to live at night. And with all the mayhem and noise in the market right now, that doesn't change. I think patience and perspective. We've heard of this real estate analyst, John Burns, consulting out of California. And I've seen him a number of times, and there's an interesting problem brewing on the horizon right now. And we're not looking at it as much because we're looking at what's in front of us with interest rates. But builders have slowed down a lot. There's the COVID crazy inventory that's hitting the market and then is absorbing right now. But after that, what? What's happening after that? I mean, if it's hard to operate and get new deals out of the ground right now, what does that mean for 2 years or 3 years from now? I think we need to have patience and perspective.
What are the most important metrics that you track? It could be personally or professionally.
I like to study absorption. How quickly are units renting? What kind of concessions are out there? It tells you a lot about what's happening in the market. I like to watch population growth, right? That is such a tailwind. We joke that on our Utah projects, Utah does so well. That's my home base. We do so well because we make all our own people, right? It's the youngest state in the country, but we've also had this benefit of people moving in here like crazy from the West Coast. And so one thing I'm mindful of is many of these markets that have benefited from population growth as people leave other states. At some point, we have to accept the fact that things can get expensive enough to where that magnet isn't as strong. Could things get to a point in Utah to where somebody who's in San Jose says, that's not that good of a deal. I'm just going to stay here, right? You can't assume that that's going to go forever. This too shall pass. Applies to everything, except for that 30-year fixed rate debt.
Well, what about some habits that you're disciplined about, Steve, that have produced a high return for you?
One that I've really been thinking about a lot lately, a little counterintuitive, is to stop working at 6 o'clock. I just stop. And it's hard because I've got a big to do list of stuff. I could go till 1 a.m. if I wanted to. It's going to be there tomorrow. And if I take that time and I go out to dinner with my wife or we hang out with the kids, take my boys golfing, that is a huge return on my time because I wake up the next day ready to get after it, feeling a lot more refreshed. That's a habit that I've really been focusing on lately. And it's not easy because that's my knee jerk reaction is to work till 1 a.m. But I think I'm in my 40s now. And so sometimes my body and mind doesn't give me a choice. I have to stop at 6. I just don't have it anymore. So there's that.
I can relate to everything you just said so much at the moment. That's so funny.
Yeah.
I appreciate your diligence in having a time to cut it off. I've heard someone say recently, you're going to die with a to-do list. I mean, it's going to. There's still always going to be things to do. However, 10 years from now, you can't go back and take your kids golfing, right? That afternoon, or you can't spend that time with them then that you can now, or your spouse, or anyone else, right? For that matter. But there'll still be a to-do list. They'll still be, so I love that advice. I couldn't agree more with focusing on what's most important, and I love the time limit, the like the intentional, say 6 p.m. or whatever it is, because I find personally when I do that or when I get home, like leaving the phone, the computer in the truck, So that way I'm just much more there, right? I'm much more present with the family and much more willing to go do those things and not be so distracted. So appreciate that advice. How do you like to give back?
There are a couple of charities that I really like. We've donated in the past to Operation Underground Railroad. It's one of my favorites. And I took my family last year. There's a charity called the Child's Hope Foundation. They run orphanages in Mexico and Latin America. So we took the kids down to Baja and made them work for 3 days. And you help them with little construction projects and clean up, and you get to play with those kids because they don't have the support system down there that we do here. So orphanages are all privately run, somehow government regulated, but privately run. So that's something that we're passionate about as well, is taking time to stop and think and give of your abundance to other people, even when it hurts a little.
Steve, grateful for that as well, and your passion around helping the orphanages there, the children there, and even the human trafficking, things like that, which Just grateful for your time and your give back to us through 3 segments here as well. You've shared so generously. Again, tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me. I love coming on your show. It's my kind of people. Learn more, go to fig.us, fig like the fruit.us, and you can see me there. Send me questions and comments and whatever you want. That's where I am. Easy to find.
Thank you for being with us again today. I hope that you have learned a lot from the show. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you're telling your friends about the Real Estate Syndication Show and how they can also build wealth in real estate. You can also go to lifebridgecapital.com and start investing today.